To February 28th, regular town council meeting. I will be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Rudick, thank you very much. Is there any additions or deletions to this motion? Seeing none at this time, all those in favor? Carried. Next up, adoption of the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillor Warwa makes a motion. Is there any errors or omissions within the minutes? How many actually read the minutes? Let me see. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. First up, we're going to go with some correspondence. Councillor Rowe, I think, or who's that department?
I can't read it. All right, this is a letter dated February 1st to your worship. Dear Mayor McPhee, as Minister of Culture responsible for sport in Alberta, I am pleased to invite your community to submit a bid to host either the 2024 Alberta Winter Games or the 2024 Alberta Summer Games. I encourage your community to consider this invitation and the many benefits that can result from hosting this event. The Alberta Games are key in Alberta's recovery plan and provide an economic impact of approximately $3 million to a host community. A successful host community is offered the opportunity to showcase its community and talents to approximately 3,000 participants from all regions of the province, along with numerous spectators and special guests. Communities with populations of less than 10,000 are encouraged to collaborate with neighboring communities to submit a joint bid or consider the smaller modified games format. The community awarded the 2024 Alberta Games will receive a $420,000 operating grant. A letter of interest to host either the 2024 Winter Games or Summer Games, together with a letter of support from Municipal or Band Council, must be received by March 25th, 2022. The completed bids must be received by April 29th, 2022. Bid guidelines and staff consultation are available by contacting Suzanne Becker at the Government of Alberta, and that is from Minister Ron Orr.
Makes the motion. Any discussion? Well, just to let everybody know that a few years ago we sort of sat down and had a conversation about this, how we might be able to collaborate with some other communities, but it just doesn't work, and we're just lacking the hotel space really, and being under the 10,000 we couldn't host the whole thing. So again, things haven't changed much. We could maybe partner with the county of Strathcona would be the only thing, but I don't know what we could probably do is maybe run some preliminary round hockey or some cross-country skiing or something like that we could host here, but that would be about it. Curling maybe, but again, we'd have to ask the county of Strathcona if they'd be interested in putting their name forward for this, and then would they want a partner. So, but for right now, they're, like I said, we had a little interest in it, I don't know, probably 8-9 years ago we talked about it a bit, but keep getting the letters, and our population hasn't changed, and neither has our hotel status has, but then we closed a few rooms. So okay, go ahead, Councillor Lemko.
Hey, Your Worship, maybe it's something that the Tourism Board Committee can have a look at to see if the opportunity that we maybe could partner or something to look at, and maybe inquire a little bit further into this, or we just, I believe in 1998 we hosted the Winter Games, Alberta Winter Games on a smaller format. I think Rashandra was the chair.
Was it the senior Winter Games?
Was it senior?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well back then I wasn't a senior, so I don't. Anyway, the tourism board can have a talk about it if you wish.
I think that's a good idea. So you take that to your tourism board and see if they would like to reach out to the County of Strathcona, and then maybe put a list of stuff that we could supply to them and facilities, and that would be a good idea, I think.
Yeah, certainly we'll entertain the discussion anyway.
Okay. Okay, so no other comments. All those in favor, receive and file. Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is the monthly cash statement for the month ended January 31st, 2022. We started the month with cash balance of $9,334,925. And at the end of the month, we had $9,452,168. So that was a net increase in cash of $117,243. Our major sources of cash for the month were $150,000 from County of Minburn for the fire agreement and landfill grant. We had a GST refund of $129,644, and then we also had an ISIP grant payment for $467,000. Our major uses of cash were purchase of water, John S. Batuk, for $83,900. We had RCMP quarter 3 payment, so that was $319,411. Just to include, there was no retro pay paid with that. That was just quarter 3 invoice with 1 quarter of the current year pay raise. So there was no retro paid in that amount. And we also had a transfer to our CWB high interest savings account. So as of the new year, our rates with BMO were more poor than what we could earn in our high interest account. So we moved money to the higher interest account to facilitate some extra interest.
Okay, I take a motion for the report. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. Any discussion? Director Saskew, have we received the invoice for the retro pay?
Not officially, no. So no, if we do receive it, we will let you know because we have been instructed not to pay that until we hear from council.
Oh, okay, I thought not until, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so we haven't actually received the formal retro pay invoice yet.
Any other discussion on the report? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, CAO Laggett.
Thank you, Your Worship. So,
Just a quick, I'm gonna step out for this.
We could if you want to. I don't really.
Probably in the best interest.
Okay.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, no worries.
carrying on, Your Worship, this is a request for council decision. The topic is to request $2,500 towards an ATCO pre-feasibility study for conversion to solar and/or cogen power on one or more town facilities. The proposal is to request up to $2,500 for the above noted pre-feasibility study. It's been proposed by myself. And the background, on February 22nd, 2022, the CAO and Mayor McPhee met virtually with representatives from ATCO to discuss various alternative energy initiatives. After several possible ideas were discussed, including EV charging stations, solar powering of facilities, and solar street lights, the representatives from ATCO suggested the town undertake a pre-feasibility study to determine which areas would provide the best return on investment. The implications are again up to $2,500. Under the communication strategy, a brief public release could be issued advising the town is taking this step towards reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. The recommendation is that council approve $2,500 to conduct a solar and/or cogen power pre-feasibility study through ATCO on one or more town facilities.
Okay, I'll take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Warwa.
So I think that in this case, it isn't a high cost, but I think it's going to have a high value. I think one of our problems has always been, you know, we haven't had a lot of these types of projects within the town, and we don't within our own group necessarily know enough about the best areas that it's needed. And I've always said that we always want to arm ourselves before we were making any investments with enough information. I just don't think we've had enough. So I think it's a very good idea.
Okay, anybody else? I think that there, oh, go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
Yeah, I'd like to see this go ahead, that's for sure. So I keep an eye on stuff with EVs and information and stuff like that coming forward. And it's interesting to see what starts in Europe and makes its way over here. So, you know, there's a thing that they're talking about EV zones. and EVs where they actually are gonna be monitoring vehicles and what zones they travel in. If you're driving a gas vehicle, depending on the level of what it is, they start looking at how much pollution it puts out, and they're planning on starting charging for that. So it's just something we should be ahead of the game. So just to look into it for sure.
Okay, I think there's one thing that we maybe didn't really bring up as well in the conversation that we had. They asked us what our plan was, and that part of their package is a bit of a feasibility study, and they're gonna show us what other municipalities have done in their future planning to bringing down their admissions. And that's part of the package that they're gonna be able to show us a way or help us put a plan in place to reduce our emission as a municipality. So I think that's another good thing. Councillor Rudy?
I'll just bring this up again in this format because Director Rowe wasn't here, but some of the funding pockets that are available through the Green Municipal Fund would be a great partnership too if we, after we finish this feasibility study, target some of our goals in the future, because there are definitely a wide variety of options, and I'm sure ATCO as well as the Green Municipal Fund staff would be able to provide some good feedback, because we are a large entity and it's incumbent on us to do better when we can. So I'll look forward to hearing the results of this feasibility study, and I'm excited to see that ATCO brought this forward to us. They're a good partner for Vegreville.
And that was another thing they brought up too in our conversation, was they can tell you what grants are available and how much offset they can have on different projects. And then having the future chair of FCM and on our new committee for this is gonna be awesome too. So knowing where some other pockets of money may be, so we have a motion for the recommendation. All those in favor? Carried. Jameson, can you let Councillor Curtis know that you can still work for ATCO?
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah. Okay. CAO Leggett, you have another one here.
Yep, thank you, Worship. So this one is a memorandum to Town Council from myself, dated today, February 28th, 2022, and it's regarding the Deputy Mayor appointment. At the original meeting held on October 25th, 2021, Council decided that each councillor would serve as Deputy Mayor for a period of 4 months, twice in their 4-year term. Following the schedule presented at the organizational meeting, the next Deputy Mayor is to be Councillor David Berry. The recommendation is that Councillor David Berry be appointed Deputy Mayor for the term of February 28th, 2022 to June 27th, 2022.
Take a motion for that. Councillor Rudick makes the motion to get out from being the Deputy Mayor. I do. Any discussion? For those new on council, it comes with a badge. So, deputy badge. Okay, all those in favor? Gary. Looking forward to working very closely with you, Councillor Berry. I think you were the only person that ran a meeting my last term, and you'll be running one again this term, so. Okay, thank you very much. The boring bylaw, is that you?
That is. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay.
This bylaw, number 02-2022 of the Town of Vegreville in the Province of Alberta, authorized by the Municipal Council of the Town of Vegreville to incur indebtedness by the issuance of debentures in the amount of 1.25 million for purpose of forced main replacement. Whereas the Council of the Town of Vegreville deems it expedient to issue a bylaw pursuant to Section 258 of the Municipal Government Act to authorize the financing, undertaking, and completion of the development of the forced main replacement. And whereas the plans and specifications have been prepared and the total cost of the project is estimated to be $2,850,000, and the municipality estimates that the following grants and contributions will be applied to the project. Provincial grants, 1.6 million, debentures, 1.25 million, for a total of $2.85 million. And whereas, in order to construct and complete the said project, it will be necessary for the Town of Vegreville to borrow the sum of 1.25 million for a period not to exceed 30 years from the province of Alberta or another authorized financial institution by the issuance of debentures and on the terms and conditions referred to in this bylaw. And whereas the estimated lifetime of the project financed under this bylaw is equal to or in excess of 50 years. And whereas the principal sum of the outstanding debt of the town of Vegreville as of December 31st, 2021 is $11,399,521, and no part of the principal or interest is in arrears. And whereas all required approvals for the project have been obtained and the project is in compliance with all acts and regulations in the province of Alberta. Now therefore, be it resolved that the council of the town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta duly assembled enacts as follows. That for the purpose of the forced main replacement, the sum of $1.25 million be borrowed from the province of Alberta or another authorized financial institution by way of debenture on the credit and security of the town in Vegreville at large, of which the full sum of $1.25 million is to be paid by the town of Vegreville at large. The town of Vegreville will repay the indebtedness according to the repayment structure in effect, namely equal semi-annual or annual payments of combined principal and interest installments not to exceed 30 years, calculated at a rate not exceeding the interest rate fixed by the province of Alberta or another authorized financial institution on the date of borrowing, and not to exceed 8%. The mayor and chief administrative officer are hereby authorized to issue debentures on behalf of the town of Vegreville for the amount and purpose authorized by this bylaw, namely forced main replacement. The municipality shall levy and raise each year municipal taxes sufficient to pay the indebtedness. The indebtedness shall be contracted on the credit and security of the town of Vegreville. The net amount borrowed under this bylaw shall be applied only to the project specified by this bylaw, and this bylaw comes into force on the date it is passed.
Thank you, Director Saskia. Okay, I'll take a motion for the first reading on this. Councillor Barry makes the motion. Any conversation, any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Riddick.
I just wanted to maybe clarify for the public that might be watching that this is potentially the most that we would need to borrow, so that the regulations require us to debenture the larger sum, and with the intention that we wouldn't use it all, but we need to initially put that money aside, and that's the intention. And that can always be, hopefully, would be a lower amount in the future, but that for the interim, that's the amount that we need to put in. As well, the debenture is the intention that a number of different residents over a number of different years would pay for some critical infrastructure, and that we wouldn't penalize or expect the people that live here today to be able to bear the full burden of the cost. So we do have this type of borrowing capacity, and it's incumbent upon us to take a look at the future and make sure that we have the proper infrastructure in place to be able to support our population. So this is a lot of money, but it is the kind of work that we do. It's critical infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barry.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I was going to add to that. Indeed, we don't wish to borrow the money, but if we didn't borrow the money this way or set up this bylaw this way, we can't start the project and then borrow later. So I think it's very important. We have had discussions more than once on just how critical this infrastructure is, being the force main that removes all of the waste materials from town out to the lagoon, and it's definitely past its age and definitely in need of replacement. So I think it's prudent that we get this work done this year for the safety of the town. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just add to that we have approached the Minister of Transportation, Minister Sani, and we're hoping that we won't have to borrow this money, but this bylaw has to be in place before we go ahead with any more engineering or anything on this project. And Councillor Rudick is very right on the fact that we spread this out for 30 years, the taxpayers, so everybody has a chance to contribute a little bit towards it. The infrastructure that's in the ground today lasted 40 years, so we hopefully will, with the technology in today's pipe and the methods they're using, that we'll be able to get 60 years out of moving forward with this key infrastructure. So no other comments. We'll vote on the first reading. All those in favor? Carried. Do some advertising now and we'll bring this back in 2 weeks. Okay, thank you very much. Next up is first reading on the Economic Development Committee bylaw. I do believe economic development is your wheelhouse.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, happy to speak to this one. So this is the newly formed bylaw number 03-2022. And this bylaw is of the town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta to establish the Economic Development Committee for the town of Vegreville. Whereas Section 145 of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, and amendments thereto provide that a council may pass bylaws to establish council committees and to define their functions. And whereas council wishes to establish a committee known as the Economic Development Committee to promote economic development within the town of Vegreville. Now, therefore, the council of the town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta enact as follows. 1. Title 1.1. This bylaw may be cited as the Economic Development Committee bylaw. 2. Definitions. 2.1. Committee means the Economic Development Committee. 2.2. Council means the elected governing body of the town of Vegreville. 2.3. Town means the municipal corporation of the town of Vegreville. Establishment. 3.1. The Economic Development Committee is established as a committee of council under this bylaw. 4. Mandate. 4.1. The mandate of this committee is to create a terms of reference that will allow the committee to provide input into the development of an economic development strategy in conjunction with the town's sustainability/strategic plans and make recommendations to council. Members. 5.1. The committee will be led by a chair. The chair is to be nominated and elected by the committee members. 5.2. Committee members may include A. Mayor, B. One councillor who sits on the Chamber of Commerce Board, C. One councillor who sits on the Vegreville Tourism Advisory Board. Support staff may include A. Economic Development Manager, B. Communications and Marketing Manager, C. Planning and Development Coordinator, D. Tourism, Recreation and Culture Coordinator, E. Chief Administrative Officer. 5. The indebtedness, oh, nope, I'm sorry. I think I went backwards there. I went back to the borrowing bylaw.
It'll have Councillor Barry's accounts report on the other side.
My apologies, Your Worship.
No problem.
Number 7, meetings. The committee will meet a minimum of 6 times per year. Repeal. Bylaw 09/2019 is hereby repealed. Effective date. This bylaw shall come into effect upon third and final reading.
Thank you, CEO Leggett. Take a motion for the first reading. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Any discussion? I'd just like to bring up some of the important things that this committee, in the way it's structured. First of all, the mandate. No matter what, we need to have that mandate that no matter what, everything we do in this committee references back to economic development. But if we look at the members that are going to be on here, the councillor from the chamber, the councillor from tourism, myself, and then the economic development manager, communications and marketing manager, planning and development coordinator, tourism, recreation, cultural coordinator, and the chief administrating officer. So no matter what we do in this organization, we're going to have our bases covered. And as long as we're all focusing, and one of the first things that we talked about in our initial meeting when we were putting some terms of reference together how this committee would be, is that everybody that works for the town of Vagaville has a role in economic development. And that's the way this committee is going to start off. And we're going to be slowly learning how this committee is going to work. And then we're going to start bringing in some other people, some experts when needed, to give us advice and information of what they're seeing in the community. So I think that this is how we're going to grow out with this committee. So, anybody else have any comments? Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be on this one for sure. I'm hoping we can get some really good plans together, bring the town staff together as well, get them all working in tandem to promote the town and get things rolling. So yeah, very excited. And from the first meeting we had, I think I talked about this a couple meetings ago, but lots of good input, lots of good drive, and if that continues, we should see some good results out of it.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion for the first reading? Carried. We'll take a motion for the second reading. Council Lemko, all those in favor? Carried. I'll need a motion for unanimous consent. Oh, Councillor Bullock makes it in front of you, Councillor Berry. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. And now for the third and final reading, Councillor Berry makes the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. It was a standing joke for a couple of terms of council that when we had the motion for unanimous consent, that Councillor Berry was in charge of that, but Councillor Bullock stepped in there, and it's nice to see a bit of a change, so that's why we're laughing. Okay, well, that's good, and then we'll move forward with this committee, and again, I just want to stress to the public that we will be bringing in members of the community at large when we need some input and some expertise and stuff, so. Okay. Here we are, council reports. Councilor Lemko, we'll start with you.
Your Worship, thank you. Finally first. February 15th, we had a Go East of Edmonton Tourism Board meeting via Zoom. Most of the meeting was discussion around the travel guide, and that it's actually today's the last day of folks who could put their advertisements in the guide. Some of the discussion around that was that after 2 years of no fairs, no rodeos, many are coming back this year, but many haven't been able to. Just lost some of those. So it's time will tell, I guess, on those, but we're excited for the Northeast tourism. Lots happening, so it'll be a busy place, and a lot of these guides, the airport's asking for more guides, and the city of Edmonton, Calgary's asking for guides already to fill their shelves, so it's good for our area to capitalize on that. February 16th, I took the elected officials education program, session 1 of 4 sessions, municipal corporate planning and finance, a little bit on strategic planning and finance. Interesting, there's about 72 to 75 participants in that. Most of them are new councillors. So you get to see the talk back and forth about the challenges that are faced in many communities. And I must say that the challenges are huge for some of the smaller communities with infrastructure and the battles that they are facing right now. So interesting conversation around the table. February 17th, the Brownlee Emerging Trends Spring Session. Lots of good information there from Brownlee. 22nd, Ledger Meeting. 23rd, the Chamber of Commerce AGM. More of the business of hosting your AGM and getting elected the officers of the chamber in place, the auditors and the lawyers and stuff. So it was a very short meeting, but very effective. 23rd, session 2 of the Municipal Strategies, Planning and Finance. Talk of the Town on the 24th with Councillor Marawa. We went, and you'll be hearing it tomorrow. It's regarding COVID-related masking. Now that masks are coming off tomorrow, it's about respecting the decisions of those to wear masks and those that choose, that don't have to anymore. And it's a comfort level. Some people, and we talk about, both of us had COVID, and the COVID that we had wasn't as, for Tina, it was like a common cold, and I ended up in the ICU. So my comfort level with putting the barriers down and taking the mask off might be not as, I might be a little more fearful. So we have to respect the people out there that are wearing masks as much as we respect the people who aren't. So we need a group hug, I guess is what I'm saying. On the 25th, the AUMA webinar regarding the budget and the discussions around that. I sat and listened to that. The 25th also was the photo shoot with Ed Stelmach, the former Premier of Alberta, and Town Council in support of Ukraine, and we were flying the Ukrainian flag on the corner of our building. On the 27th, I attended the St. Vladimir's Ukrainian Orthodox prayer for Ukrainian people and challenges that are going on over there. And so it was nice to be part of some more prayer for those folks. And tonight's council meeting. That's my report, sir.
Thank you, and I want to thank the councilors that were able to show up for the impromptu photo shoot with from former Premier Ed Stelmach and his wife Marie, and it was nice of Ed to come to town and do that with us. So, next up, Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to change things up a bit and go backwards. Tonight's council meeting. On Friday, the 25th, was our Vermilion River Watershed Alliance board meeting, and we have quite a few new members on that, so it was mainly just an introduction meeting. 2 days prior to that, on the 23rd, our executive for the Vermilion River Watershed Alliance had a planning meeting where we looked into the future of our April meeting and in our June annual general meeting, and getting ready to set up a new 3-year implementation plan for working on the river and restorations thereof, and looking for new grants. 22nd Ledge meeting. The 16th, I was at the Vegreville Legion for their 95th anniversary plaque presentations, which I thought was quite good. And then finally here on the February 16th, I actually attended a webinar put on by ASHA, the Alberta Seniors and Community Housing Association, and it was for members, municipal elected officials. It was called Housing 101. And I found, seeing that I'm also on the hospital board and on the doctor's retention recruitment that I can't go so long on, and a couple of other things looking at community health, I wanted to take this in because there are some interesting points that were being made there. And I know that our lodge operators and our 2 councils that are sitting on the MD Minburn Foundation will learn more of this in time. I found it interesting that the statement now is in 2029, 7 years from now, seniors 65 and older will outnumber youth ages 0 to 14. So we're distinctly aging in the province, and Vegreville has a high percentage of seniors. They say right now we have in Alberta 43,900 affordable housing units, of which 19,400 are in rural areas. So those are in communities that are not one of the 7 largest cities. And 80% of continuing care units are provided by the private sector. Lodges are classed as continuing care. So for lodges, we have 10,450 units with 7,100 units in rural areas. And what they're saying is that cost of affordable housing in the cities is rising and becoming unaffordable. And in the rural areas, we don't have enough options. So if you're in a small community, basically you have one option. In some cases, in small communities, they don't have any option. So then they have to look at regional. So I found those things to be quite interesting. I don't want to go into details on this because I didn't really follow it that far, but it's something we're going to have to be watching for. Alberta Health Services is in the process of developing a new Continuing Care Act. And they've got a lot of details that they're going to be working out, including a 10-year affordable housing strategy to grow capacity. But they're looking at several different ways of growing capacity, including doing partnerships of government versus private or combinations thereof. And I felt there was an interest in privatizing some of the government-owned facilities that are in existence. And this is where I found it was quite interesting, because a counselor who used to be on the board interjected at this point and cautioned municipalities to be making sure that they don't accept downloading, because there appears to be a feeling that the province might be looking at downloading some of these social aspects of community housing to municipalities. And one of the areas that we'll have to continue to watch for is that currently lodges can requisition, and it's under the Housing Act, and they're the only ones that can requisition. And that's similar to the educational requisition. The lodge requisitions a certain amount of sums that they feel that they need from the municipalities, and the municipalities collect it for them and give it to them. And it's not something that is controlled by budgeting within the community. I think there was a concern there that they hope they don't take a look at the requisitions into the future to expand those, that more opportunities for other than lodges would be available to requisition, because that would be downloading these programs onto municipalities. So this is one of the things that I think we need to be watching carefully as they expand. From the other side of the fence, this could make things better for places like lodges and et cetera, because there may be better funds, better combinations. One of the things that was pointed out is there's currently close to a dozen lodges across the province that already have contracts with AHS to provide medical staff and care within the lodge. So there's going to be good things on the side of community housing, but we want to make sure that some of it isn't being downloaded to municipalities. Depends on which hat you're wearing, of course. So the final point that I wanted to make up, or not make up, sorry. Point out, based on a little conversation that kind of occurred here a little while ago, the importance of senior housing to the economy of smaller communities. And they say on a provincial basis, every dollar spent on affordable housing returns $1.40 back to GDP. So when you look at affordable housing, and you look at seniors in particular, when you look at the different types, self-contained, we have lodges, we have supported living, we have continuing care. We're lucky we have all of those, but not in a balanced way in town. We certainly need more. But it is an economic driver, because if you take a look at, it's often one of the largest employers. When you look at staff that are in there, as well as outside staff that are providing services and supplies, there's maintenance, there's repairs. The seniors, the advantage here is if you've got these facilities, the seniors stay in the community and they don't go elsewhere, and you can actually attract seniors to come to your community. And the advantage that I keep trying to say when I call them an industry is seniors receive pensions from federal sources and provincial benefits, and those are monies from outside of the community. So seniors bring money into the community that may not get spent within the community and circulates. If you ask somebody in economics, they're going to say 6 to 7 times in the community. So I just wanted to point out that we should always encourage seniors to stay or to come to be part of our community, because they provide quite an economic driver to the community. And that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Was there any discussion or input in how may be able to change those demographics between the old and the young?
Well, the old, we encourage them to come, but we recognize that their stay is going to be limited. Whereas if we can really promote all of the youth and young families to come, we'll be matching those demographics. I'm still waiting to see the census for 2020, I believe, 2021, sorry, I think it is, I haven't seen what the town's demographics were made up. I'm actually hoping that we'll see that maybe some of the younger ages are a little more prominent, because I think that it seems the schools have had an uptick in students. So the biggest thing is if we can promote jobs, then we'll promote youth.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. So for me, first off, we have February 16th. I'm in the same course as Councillor Lemko and Councillor Bullock for the municipal planning and finance. As a new councillor, I think it's really rewarding for me to be in there and listening to some experienced councillors, and then, as Councillor Lemko said, hearing about what's going on in their areas, their municipalities. And it makes me feel like we're very well set up here with how we are doing our budgeting and our planning for the future. So it's nice to see. As well on the 16th, I was in the homelessness task force that we have with the FCSS group, and their new coordinator Tracy is working very, very hard to get some info regarding what homelessness looks like in town. I don't think we had a very good picture of that, and it's been talked about, but I don't think the picture was there. So they have put together a pretty good strategy as to how to find that information, getting a survey out, and then we're going to take it from there as far as what needs to be done in town. I also let them know tonight during our FCSS meeting that I'll probably be stepping back from that committee for the next few meetings. I want to let them get some hard evidence and some things that we can actually work with prior to going back. So they're going to keep us updated, and then in the next couple months I'll probably join back in to see where they're at. February 22nd, we had our ledge meeting. February 23rd, again, another part of the municipal planning and finance course, and then the FCSS meeting tonight, as well as council meeting.
But you had a few extra meetings in the beginning of the month before the 16th.
Correct. Well, that was in my last report, though. I can go over them again.
We only give this report once a month, I thought.
This one, well, we had this. I already talked about those.
Oh, I see.
I put a star beside where I left off last.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Councillor Bullock.
Yes, okay, so on February 16th, the Municipal Corporate Planning and Finance course. That was the first one, and that was very interesting, of course, for me to hear as well. And as Councillor Curtis said, that the other communities that have so many new councillors on it and the problems they are going through. So we are pretty fortunate here for what's going on, and thank goodness we have someone like Mrs. Askew here to help us all along with finance and stuff to make it easier for us. It is quite good to see. On February 17th, virtual Brownlee LLP, Emerging Trends in Municipal Law. That was a very interesting course as well. They had a lot of bouncing around when it came to the subject around COVID, going back and forth with all the changes, and they were having times struggling working with it as well. So if the lawyers that are working in this all the time are having trouble dealing with it, can imagine what it is for a municipality. So good advice from them. February 21st, the Family Day event where there was a Vipers outdoor hockey game, indoor drone soccer was really interesting. So never seen that actually done live before. That was pretty cool and great to see the families out enjoying that. February 22nd, Legislative Committee meeting. February 23rd, Vegreville and District Chamber of Commerce AGM. So where the president was officially put in place. And also interesting, should know from the Chamber of Commerce that businesses have been receiving these shop local packages coming out to them. So just keep an eye out for that, and you'll see these decals on businesses out there encouraging people to shop local. And then another on February 23rd, that evening, Municipal Corporate Planning Finance course. Again, another course into that. There's a few more to go with that, and tonight's council meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Rudick.
Well, since we last met on February 16th, I attended the Vegreville Centennial Library Board meeting. Just a couple things to note from that gathering. The rentals at the library gym are up, so it's being used 5 nights a week. A number of the programs are coming back as COVID restrictions change, and The library itself is very busy as well, with some new programs as well as some online offerings as well that have allowed people to be able to join an online book club, for example, and teen space in person, as well as some different services and supplies that are available. So collections of a different sort, so not just your usual books and periodicals and online offerings. They also have things to be able to take out, such as snowshoes. So that is something that's offered in a number of different facilities across the province, and our library has started to offer different things. Over the years, they've offered video games, for example, and audiobooks. And this is another example of things that they're offering in the facility. I also attended the Legion Branch 39 95th anniversary that evening, and on February 17th, attended the Brownlee Emerging Trends in Municipal Law webinar. Again, a great idea to keep on top of these emerging trends, for us to be able to see where things are happening, not just for us, because it's easy to get mired in what's happening in our community and forget across the province some of the things that are happening. So it's been an interesting time the last couple of years, and good to see some of our familiar faces like Lauren Randall on there talking about FOIP and the importance of the documents that we keep and how we share that information with one another. I was able to take CEO Leggett? Sorry, I'm going to get that right. Leggett for an impromptu tour to the library on Friday, February 18th, just to take a quick tour around in the wake of our board meeting and acquaint him with the facility and the manager of the site. February 22nd to 28th, and as well the rest of this week has been FCM board meetings and virtual board meetings. I think in some senses are busier than in person, because it's been every day, all day, and a range of meetings, and just to give the breadth and the depth of the kind of things that we talk about, and we all know this at this table, for municipal government, finance and intergovernmental relations, community safety and crime prevention, northern and remote, environmental and sustainability, international, rural forum, increasing women's participation in municipal government, social and economic development, infrastructure, transportation, finance, and audit. So we do a little bit of it all. So local government's really important. A couple highlights I'll just bring out. We met today with Minister Hutchings. She is the Rural Economic Development Minister from Newfoundland, and lots of great conversation there about issues that are near and dear to our heart, specifically talking about rural economic development, the importance of broadband. We are fortunate that we have the fiber here, and the last number of years we've been trying to capitalize on that and make sure that people are aware of that so that they can come here and be able to settle into smaller communities. And we're starting to see that with the type of people that are seeking communities like Vegreville. A lot of the newest residents to Vegreville are from out of province seeking affordable housing. And affordable housing has traditionally been, some might think that it's supported housing, but it actually covers the continuum. And that actually was another meeting that we had last week. February 24th was the first ever National Housing Summit with FCM, Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, as well as Federal Minister Hussein, Minister Hutchings, and the Prime Minister. And that meeting was a good opportunity to talk about some of the things that both Councillor Berry and Councillor Curtis talked about, the range of housing options for Canadians, from those experiencing homelessness, as well as those that are trying to be able to purchase a home. There is a range of issues right now in communities across the country, and trying to get the equation correct, sometimes we're behind. So at this time we could use potentially more seniors housing of different sorts, but we also could potentially see more uptick in the purchasing of our housing if we had a different stress test. So the stress test, for example, that was changed for SAME-HC isn't necessarily indicative of what's happening in different communities across the country. So it's the first conversation that's ever happened. Really exciting to see what kind of policy might be coming forward to be able to meet the needs of Canadians of all different sites. So that was a great meeting. Was glad to be able to join former Premier Stelmach and the Mayor and some of the Council and Mrs. Stelmach to be able to raise the flag and acknowledge the unprovoked aggression of Russia and Ukraine, and as well to be able to join with some of the community on the 27th at St. Vlad's, to be able to acknowledge that there are a lot of people here personally that are experiencing this aggression. And again, Vegreville is a community that many look to for guidance, and to be able to see the number of Canadians that are of Ukrainian descent, but a number of people that have direct relationships. I know receiving a Facebook message from our family in Ukraine, my husband's family in Ukraine, we waited many days to be able to find out if they're okay. And they are, but not for very long. So it is an emergent issue at all times, and we think about all of the people that are affected. Tonight's council meeting, and that is my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Warba.
Thank you. Obviously, many of the similar meetings I had on the 17th, Emerging Trends from Brownlee, and I did think it was very interesting, and I'm typically not a person who loves the Zoom meetings, but actually in those cases, I do appreciate that opportunity to be able to do some of these by Zoom, especially those full-day meetings. You know, for myself, it might have been something that if I couldn't have done by Zoom, I might not have been able to take part in. So, you know, I think that one of the things we've found here in this world we've been in for the last couple of years is that maybe hybrid models work in the future. So hopefully they still allow some of those options. On the 21st, on Family Day, I was very thankful to be asked to be one of the judges for the public speaking here in Vegreville. It was a really good opportunity, and really enjoyed hearing a lot of the young people. On the 22nd, the Legislative Committee meeting. On the 24th, as Councillor Lemko said, we did Talk of the Town, and I will be interested to see when it comes out, because you know, they have to shorten these things down a little bit, and we may have gone, but I'm really hoping a little bit of serious humor, if there's such a thing, that Councillor Lemko brought in at the end does make it in, because we did talk back and forth about being on both sides of a spectrum, sometimes with comfort levels, but how the respect can be the same regardless of what side of spectrum you're on. And at the end, I really am going to say, I'm going to tell your full joke if it doesn't make it on the air, because it was just interesting. He made a little bit of a humor comment towards how two animals would react to something, a certain situation. And it was something you could relate back and think, well, that really is true and that really does happen. So obviously we should be the same. I did end up asking Councillor Lemko which animal he thought I was at the end. So we'll see how that goes, but I did appreciate it. On the 27th, I was able to also attend the non-denominational service at St. Vladimir's. One of the things that I would like to just bring forward to it that stuck with me, it was not a short service. Fair to say we were well over an hour and had stood the entire service. And, you know, you can see people shifting or maybe being prepared to sit. And I'm not going to lie, at one point I was thinking, oh, you know, could we do the portion where we sit and listen a little bit? And then when the priest brought forward and they were talking and spoke about how some of the people that were already fleeing to the borders had been 26 and 27 hours in the lineup at the border. And that was without food, without facilities. And so it started to make some of the sacrifices that we complain about here, not just the standing for the hour, but a lot of the things that we on a day-to-day basis complain about seem a little less important. So I wanted to bring that one forward. Today, earlier, we had our FCSS meeting, and just a couple of additional things I wanted to touch on was, of course, as Councillor Curtis mentioned, we will be working with the Housing Task Force, but again, letting them step forward and stepping in when we need to. I think you're absolutely right. We're at a spot where now they've got some direction in line and they'll go from there. But I am really looking forward to finding out some results from their survey, letting us know a little bit more about homelessness in our community, because I think it'll help direct a lot of our programs going forward. FCSS for a while has also been advertising and trying to bring in a community counselor. We needed to fill that role again, and we were very happy to hear tonight that they have filled the position with a little bit of a twist from what we've had before. Previously, we were still doing the administrative side, which was all of the booking, the billing, and the group that they're bringing in now will actually be doing all of those services. So it will kind of bring it back again to what maybe some of our original intention was, which was to help facilitate but not have to take on so much of a role, but that just wasn't something we could find before. So that is something that's part of that new, and I think that's really great. Another thing that we spoke about, and it was discussed around the table here a bit, was about affordable housing. And they're going to get us some information that I think is important for all of us to talk about and to know, which is, we've always been very careful that we aren't advocating extremely for additional affordable housing spaces when we already have many affordable options within the town. But there is programs out there that would allow some rent subsidies for existing. So things that where if a landlord has somebody realizes that there's issues, that maybe there is some ability to apply for those grants. So not necessarily creating new spaces, but helping keep people in the spaces we already have. So they'll be providing us a little bit of information on that, and I thought that would be a great thing for us all to have. Another two little things from that meeting that I wanted to bring forward was there was some discussion between Julie and our Alberta Works representatives. So with the regulations changing, we did hear that the work from home order is being lifted. That's going to be something that we're going to ask if administration can, in the next couple of days, if we can follow up back and forth with each other. But the number one is when Julie had a discussion just a little while back with them, they were asking her to help talk about solutions for how to lighten the load for the help that they were doing. But the reality is this: if their doors are open and they're doing their job, that's what lightens the load. We don't need to necessarily be talking about other things that they can do to assist us to assist them. They need to just have their doors open again. So I think we're going to be watching over the next couple days to see whether the Alberta Works office is open. But if they're not, one go forward item, I guess we would love to see maybe put forward even from admin is an ask of our MLA if she could give us an update as to when they're opening. But we can obviously give them a few days to see what does open up. But I know at one point in their discussion, some of the contacts through Alberta Works had talked about potentially getting them laptops, for example, that could be utilized by people coming in to try and access the program. And if we were in a time where things weren't opening, that's one thing, but I personally still don't see that as an answer for them to give us laptops, for our people to still have people come into the FCSS, still have to set them up, still get them on. The other option is that they just be open and do the job. So I would like us to watch that. And one more thing from the FCSS is we've had a great asset in Emma Murray. Emma will be leaving us. She has another opportunity right now, and also is going to be doing some future additional schooling. So just as the chair, I want to thank Emma. She was well received in the schools and the programs that she facilitated, and was I just wish her the very best. She was really great to have. So just a big shout out to Emma. Tonight's council meeting, and then just one item I wanted to add there's been talk tonight about economic development, and I heard as well with Councillor Rudick's report. And so our MP, Shannon Stubbs, so through our office, she has been named Shadow Minister for Rural Economic Development and Rural Broadband. So that's a new role that I'll be taking on with her within the office. So hopefully we can get you guys information on stuff, but I thought I'd share that. And that's everything.
Well, good luck with that rural broadband, because you'll probably get a few calls at your office for that. Through to Director Rowe, let me know tomorrow, if you could, if Alberta Support's office is open. And if they're not, we'll make a call.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all for what you do, and it seems like everybody's been real busy here, and appreciate that. On the 14th, the day of our last council meeting, I had been talking with some investors, and we were out on site at Prosperity Park. And then the next day, we, myself and Bob, our economic development manager, we had a meeting with Minister Nate Horner and MLA Jackie Armstrong-Hominick. Mr. Horner is Minister of Agricultural and Rural Development. And it was nice that his Chief of Staff, Tim Schultz, was still from the last minister, so he knows exactly where we're at, and we had some really positive conversations about some of the issues that these new industries are facing right now, and how the government may help them move forward. So, and on the 16th, I attended the Canadian Police. I don't think it was the association. I got it wrong. Is it Canadian Police Federation? Is that the union for the RCMP? Oh, that, okay. In Vermilion. And, so of course, we all know it's the union for the RCMP officers. And, they brought a whole different, look than what the province has been telling us. So on Wednesday, I'm booked into the one in Vermilion for the province, and we'll get their view on it, and, I can hardly wait to see that, so. I did speak quite a bit at this, at the RCMP, their presentation, and I asked quite a few questions and questioned what we were told by the minister, and they see it in a whole different light. So I can hardly wait to ask some more questions on Wednesday. On the 16th, I also attended the Legion's 95th anniversary, and it was nice to be able to give out a plaque and recognize what they've been doing in this community for 95 years and how their role has changed and how they have always been an important part of our community. On the 22nd, CAO Leggett and myself had that conversation with ATCO regarding where we're going to be in the future with sustainability and with projects, solar and cogen, and it was a very good meeting. I'm looking forward to their initial report back to us. We had the LEDS meeting on the 22nd. I swore in the members of the new Chamber of Commerce, and I thanked them for letting their name stand, and they're very appreciating the community. And on the 23rd, I was invited by MLA Jackie Hominick to attend the round table with the former Premier Stelmach and new Premier Kenny on the situation in Ukraine. And there's a lot of our partners that we're already dealing with there today. The Canadian-Ukrainian Congress, the Canadian-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, and His Worship from the Ukraine, I can't remember his name now, forget it, the Consulate General. And there was a big announcement. Premier Kenny announced $1 million donation towards humanitarian relief efforts for the Ukrainian people, and they encouraged everybody to start making some donations in the Canada-Ukraine Foundation. And the new committee that's formed, Stand With Ukraine, all the chair members and everybody else that's on the board was at this meeting, and when the doors closed and when the media was asked to leave, and then there was some really good talk in the session, and there was a plan put forward. So hopefully, I mean, we can't send troops, but what we can do is support the willingness of the Ukrainian people to stand up for themselves. So that's what we're going to do. And on the 24th, the John S. Batuk Water Commission. On the 25th, thanks to Jameson, our communication manager, he helped set up a talk of the town, which aired this morning. I had Ed Stelmach come in, and our MLA, Jackie Hominick, was in on that. And we talked about what was said at the roundtable discussion about how we can help the people of Ukraine right now, and in a way that is not in the GoFundMe situation. These websites are already set up with the Canada-Ukraine Foundation, so don't try to reinvent the wheel. Everybody get their money, and there's no admin fees and stuff collected on these other sites. So, and I want to thank Premier Stelmach for coming into town right away, and he brought Marie with him, and Marie, they very graciously come down for their raising of the Ukrainian flag, and I want to thank MLA Jackie Hominick too for her willingness to be on that talk with us. And I'm sorry to shut Councillor Warawa and Lemko down, but theirs will be airing tomorrow morning at 8:40, and I'm looking forward to a joke, so it should be good.
It's humorous.
Okay, so that's what I have, what I've been up to. I can tell you that I've met with lots of interested parties moving forward, or exploring thoughts of coming to Vegreville, and showed them some buildings that were for sale, the buildings for lease, and we've walked, the Dales Department made a road out into Prosperity Park for us. We could go out there and take some shots, and I can't say enough about our Planning and Development Department and how they've been working with these developers like pretty nonstop for the last week and a half with all their questions, and so again, hopefully something's gonna come positive out of that, so. That being said, that's what I have. We have no closed session items for today. Is there any other business of council that I missed or somebody would like to bring forward? Okay, well, that's where we're at then. I will adjourn this meeting at 8:05.